and welcome to this weekend special of the Intel Brief. Today is Sunday, 8 December. I'm your host Daniel, the founder of HM Intelligence, and normally, every weekday, we bring you not just the news, but the so what from the events and decisions that shape our world. But in this weekend special, we'll take a look at how events have unfolded in Syria over the last week. So, for some background, the Syrian civil war began 14 years ago after the Assad's government violently suppressed a popular uprising during the Arab Spring, and it has evolved and prolonged since then. Russia and Iran have always backed the Assad regime, while Turkey has begun supporting the opposition groups as well as deploying forces into northwestern Syria. The United States has focused on aiding the Syrian Kurdish forces in the northeast against the Islamic State and continue to do so. Since 2020, the war has largely stagnated with sporadic clashes between the rebels and Assad's forces. That year, a truce brokered by Turkey and Russia halted the Syrian government's offensive to retake the rebel-held Idlib region in the northwest. This new offensive, which began on Wednesday, 27 November, mainly involves the designated terrorist group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS, and Turkish-backed Syrian National Army rebels. From now on, we will refer to this group as just the rebels. So on Friday, 29 November, the rebels launched a major offensive against Bashar Assad's forces in Aleppo, Syria's second largest city. The UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights reported 255 fatalities, mostly combatants, since the fighting began. The insurgents seized over 50 towns and villages before reaching Aleppo. In response, the Syrian military pledged a counterattack, with significant reinforcements reportedly going to arrive into the region. However, these counterattacks never came, and the government forces quickly withdrew from the region. By 30 November, the rebels confirmed that they had seized and controlled the city, including its centre and military bases. Then, on Tuesday 3 December, following the capture of Aleppo, rebel forces advanced southwards towards Hama, Syria's fourth largest city. The rebels seized the towns located just north of the city, according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. This advance highlighted the strategic push along a critical axis towards Syria's central and southern regions. Then on Thursday, 5 December, the rebels launched an offensive against Hama, leading to clashes with regime forces. Shortly after the clashes were reported, the Syrian army announced that it was withdrawing from the city, citing the need to protect civilians and avoid dragging them into the conflict. The next day on Friday, 6 December, an uprising erupted in Syria's southern Daraa province, a former opposition stronghold recaptured by Assad's forces after years of conflict. The rebels quickly took control of several towns as regime loyalists fled or blended into the civilian population. Simultaneously, the rebellion spread to the neighbouring Swayada province, where the Druze communities dominate, with insurgents seizing the central prison and releasing prisoners who had been held there for years. On Saturday 7 December, rebel forces from the Daraa province, supported by local fighters, launched an assault on Syria's capital, Damascus, from the south. At the same time, the HTS-led rebel army reached the northern suburbs of Homs, north of Damascus, and other armed groups cut off key Damascus to Homs highway. Rebels, reportedly from the Western-backed Syrian Free Army, also captured the historic city of Palmyra in the eastern Syria, which has previously been controlled by the Islamic State during their tenure. On Sunday, 8 December, the rebels confirmed the fall of Damascus and Homs, declaring the liberation of the city of Damascus and the fall of the tyrant Bashar al-Assad from the inside of the state television studio. In response to the situation, the Israeli government announced the deployment of troops to a buffer zone along the border with Syria after detecting the presence of armed personnel in the area. However, Israel has stated that they will not interfere with the internal events of Syria. Though there was rumours of his reported death in a plane crash, several news outlets have recently reported that Assad is in Moscow and has been given asylum by the Russian government. So what? This is the key question. What will happen next? Though I always hope for peace, sadly, this seems unlikely, despite all the statements from the rebel groups claiming that they do not want conflict with anyone but the Assad regime and his supporters. It is likely that there will be some tribal infighting and groups vying for control of certain areas in the country. For Syria, it is possible that this will turn into a two-state solution, with the western areas controlled by Islamic tribes, and in the east, the Kurdish areas controlled by the SDF. However, it is unlikely that the Kurds will be left to create their own state. This is due to the Turkish influence within the rebel groups, who would be strongly opposed to any form of Kurdish state. This could also spell trouble for Hezbollah in Lebanon, as Syria was their main supply route from Iran. With that cut off, they may struggle to get weapons and supplies needed for their fight against Israel. While unlikely, this could lead to a similar movement in Lebanon, looking to push out the Iranian influence for good. All in all, it is unlikely that the fall of the Syrian government will mean peace for the country. It is more likely that smaller, localized conflicts will break out. But there is some hope that sometime in the future, peace could be restored to the country. But this will take time and work. Thank you for listening to the Intel Brief, your daily intelligence briefing for global geopolitics, brought to you by HM Intelligence. If you want to support the podcast, tell your friends to help them stay informed, and leave us a 5-star review. Or if you want to learn more about intelligence, why not take one of our courses? They're all online, self-paced and affordable. Thank you for listening. I've been your host Daniel, and I'll see you next time.